Did you just stand here? But wait, how do I add a title now? Or is it too late to add a title? Oh, no. Now we're looking at my desk. Hello. I don't know how to add a title after the fact. Yeah, so we'll just hang out for a second and I'll see viewers live with little filters, questions. Okay, apparently we add the title after. So I'm gonna welcome you to a reading of my piece from A Woman's Right to Pleasure by Black Book, Dr. Marashi, and Lilo. If you follow my work, especially here, you might know sometimes I do influencer work for Lilo. I think they're a great company. And Black Book is, of course, a wonderful publication. And Dr. Marashi, he seems pretty cool. I don't know, I haven't met him. COVID being what it is. And you can buy the book on blackbookpresents.com or Amazon and those kind of places. And I don't know if it's on Audible. Let's hold on for a second. Maybe I'll get an answer about whether it's on Audible. Also, I see all the hearts. Love that. So, the book brings together work by over 75 of the world's most exciting women artists, writers, and creative thinkers of the last century to explore pleasure in all its forms. Also, it's a digital exhibition featuring works by artists from the book, live events like this one, and a podcast, which I'm going to be hosting, which is super fun, right? So I'm going to grab my copy of the book. Of course, it's digital. Save a tree. And I'm going to try to get in my light. That's pretty okay. Eduardo ne habla español. I'd like to open with a quote. It's a quote of a rephrasing of someone else's quote. Natalie Wynn, in character on the Trans Trenders episode of her YouTube philosophy show ContraPoints, paraphrasing Judith Butler, says, "Gender is a series of gestures. It's called performativity." Wynn goes on to talk about dysphoria, gender roles, and to generally get in an argument with herself. Like Foucault, the discourse is in the contradictions. For me, a woman's right to pleasure is a given. I grew up on second-wave feminist texts like Jane Sexes It Up and Cunt. Before I turned 18, I knew how to make myself orgasm and how to teach other people to make me orgasm, and I had a certainty in my God-given right to experience as much pleasure as my body could handle. I'm here to talk about the flip side. See, I'm a fairly well-known pornographer. The last time I had dinner with a friend, the waitress asked me what our plans for the night were. I said, I'll probably head home and work on my column. The waitress asked, what publication? I said, Slate. She asked, are you Yes, Stoya, I answered. She was thrilled. I bring this up merely to state the inescapability of my career. There's no avoiding the fact of it, and that fact almost certainly has ramifications, sometimes for the better, but sometimes for the worse. A funny thing happens to men when they enter the bed of a notorious sex worker. Either their dick wilts or they attempt to outdo the fantasy of porn production that exists in their minds. Of course, there are outliers who manage to hold their own, but those are few and even farther between. These men, the ones who want to outdo the fantasy, they want to make me come. Not only do they want to make me come, they want to make me come hard, fast, and over and over. It's too much. Really. My pussy gets a cramp sometimes. I exhaust myself. I don't need to orgasm 30 times in a single hookup. 1 feels like an amazing reset. 3 is fantastic. 5 is plenty. Another strong one and I'll need to stop. Seriously, please chill. No, really, my clit is on fire. Don't touch it anymore tonight. I know it's weird and not particularly relatable, but I have to tell you that I orgasm easily. I'm a freak of nature and incredibly well suited for the job of porn performer in that respect. I regularly come from penetration alone. With the right kind of catering to the enormous erogenous zone that is my back and some clitoral stimulation, I might orgasm in under 5 minutes. These guys, they don't need to try so hard. They don't need to prove their prowess. I wonder sometimes if I'm setting a bad example for my male partners, whether I'm some kind of traitor to womankind for allowing myself to inhabit the patriarchal fantasy of a woman who orgasms easily, no matter how authentic that may be. I'm tempted to hold back, to decline to orgasm until they've put in some serious work, to refuse to be the easy girl, woman, what femme ever. Regardless, it's a performance of being a porn star partnered by a performance of being a good virile man. It isn't authentic, and that's probably why it irks me. Eventually, they do get it out of their system and relations begin to normalize. We have sex with each other as people. That's better, much better. I remember a time before I was a porn performer. They still wanted to know how many times and how hard. I wonder how many men are legitimately aroused by statistics. Is it a kink? I haven't had sex with nearly as many women, but to generalize, they're far less concerned with the mathematics of mating. Clearly, I've got some pretty firm ideas about sex. I'm currently employed as a sex advice columnist and have spent 12 years in the adult film industry in various capacities from performer to producer. So I feel qualified to make some unilateral decisions about sex, what it is, and how it should happen. Sex, to me, is the physical connection of humans and associated behaviors. Kissing is sex. So-called dirty talk or explicit flirtation is sex. Mutual masturbation is sex. Frottage is sex. Penetration is sex. Orgasms for either partner are not required. I like human connection. I prioritize the moment. Perhaps this is a mark of my privilege, but I just don't care that much about the orgasms. I want them when they're imminent, desperately, but they aren't my goal when I enter most sexual interactions. It's great that men care about female pleasure now. It's truly wonderful that the general public is aware of the fact of the female orgasm and thinks it's a cool thing to make happen for a woman. I am overjoyed that multiple orgasms are a thing people know about, though the fact that people with penises can have them too does seem to get lost. And I can't help but thinking that there's something starkly patriarchal in this counting and logging. Sometimes, for me, the feeling of release happens as I'm initially being penetrated. Fingers or cock, it doesn't matter. Sometimes the feeling of release happens as they brush that sensitive spot on the front wall of my vagina. Sometimes the feeling of release happens during an orgasm. Occasionally, very rarely, that feeling of release comes from kissing. All are equal in my eyes, and that feeling is what I'm after. The pleasure I take in sex is vast and varied. I feel lucky to have found an activity that I find so endlessly entertaining and pleasurable. But that pleasure is about far more than a few muscle contractions and a release of physical tension. That pleasure comes from being intimate, being gently stroked, sharing body heat, kissing, and giving pleasure myself. And every once in a while, I still do greatly enjoy letting a partner wear me out, even if I have a pussy cramp afterwards. So that was my piece from A Woman's Right to Pleasure by Black Book, Dr. Marashi, and Lilo. You can buy the book on blackbookpresents.com, Amazon, the other usual places. Those of you calling for nudity, there's a whole other website where that's allowed. It was mentioned in a Beyonce song. I'm sure you can figure it out. 18 plus. So now I'm going to answer some questions. What do you do to avoid depression? Wow. I can see why in 2020 a person might be asking that question. Thank you, Gabby. One thing is staying physically active is really helpful. Another thing is I'm lucky to be quarantined with my roommate, Steve, who I collaborate with creatively. So the two of us have been doing a lot of photo shoots together. So that's fun. Is there a penis size that's needed for sex? So, at the risk of repeating myself, sex is so much more than a penis in a vagina or anus. And another thing that I think gets lost, like we talk about length, but we don't talk about girth very much, and girth is actually what's important. Largely, right? Like some women really like long, some receptive anal partners really like long, but generally like girth is a pretty important one as well. How did you become so comfortable with nudity in your body? I just sort of always was, and believe me, if I knew and could teach it, then I would totally be doing that. But it's just, it's my body. How can sex workers use their voices to raise awareness on female pleasure and its representation? Anyone involved in visible sex work, creating porn content, doing cam sessions, like anything that's like sort of at the crossroads with like entertainment. They can show genuine representations of female pleasure, and so that's cool. Male sex workers can they can do outreach to other men, right? And talk about how to interact with people sexually. And yeah, everyone can use whatever online platform they have to like further discussion. As a pornographer, do you watch porn in your personal life? Not very often. Video porn, it's very hard for me to turn off the critical, like, work brain. So I don't have the ability to like, slip into suspension of disbelief mode and like enjoy it. Do you believe that the porn industry objectifies women, not just as performers, but as viewers? Is watching porn bad? I don't think so. I do think viewers should think about the messages that they're getting from what they're watching and use critical thinking. I don't think porn should be a place where people are learning about sexuality. I think we need more. Hi, Chelsea. I think we need more functional educational media for people to learn about sex from, so that the pressure is off of pornography. How do you think the porn industry has changed since you first started working in it? One huge thing is the barrier to entry for production is so low. So just about any performer can set up their own OnlyFans clips for sale, ManyVids, AP clips, like whatever the platform is. They can set up their own account. They can film simple things themselves on their cell phone. They can get like a little Lume Cube. It's a light that's like really about this big. And they can really do a lot completely on their own. Whereas, 15 years ago, you had to like really have some special skills to get things that looked good. So that's a really big one. We've seen more power in the hands of performers, which is great from a labor rights perspective. Who is your pleasure role model? Oh, Annie Sprinkle. Anyone who doesn't know who Annie Sprinkle is, check out her work. She was a porn performer in the 80s. She was the like do everything girl. And she then went to SVA for performance art and had a touring show called Post Porn Modernist that talked about her life and experiences in sex work. And she, Madball fan knows. Lithy, yes, I'm so happy you studied her at university. She's just amazing. So, and like her work is all about pleasure and now eco-consciousness, and I just admire the hell out of her. So I'm gonna check in here. Someone's thanking me for mentioning the back as an erogenous zone. How's life been like during this pandemic? Well, I shot a ton of stuff with Steve. I went through the apartment. I made a list of like everything I hadn't shot. And then I like purchased some like props and things. And we shot like 35 sets just in the apartment. And then in the past few weeks, we've been able to do like some small shoots with at least like makeup. Want to see you on Call Me by My Venmo name. Yeah. We're in talks. We're discussing some possibilities. So it's been, not having makeup artist and location for all those weeks. Now it's like, it's such a joy. Like I'm like, oh, I want to do this and oh, I want to do that. Dell, Dream Team. Hi, Dell. I saw Olive a second ago. I'm gonna see if we can you can see Pixel's butt. Hi, Pix. Hi, buddy. Hello. Are you a cat? You're such a cat. He is such a cat. The Vinit Singh, I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation of that. I do have a little bit of makeup on. I want to make sure that your makeup sensors are properly calibrated. Shooting with Steve, and I've done a couple of remote shoots. Clayton Cubic came over with his drone and did some drone shots. And I did a bunch of like figure modeling remotely for artists that I like the work of. So that was interesting to just be like, okay, so like, what can we do over the webcam? Like what can I do without meeting up with people? And that's been pretty rad. So, it's a terrible tragedy, and everything that's happening is very sad, but personally I'm managing to like keep going and keep doing what I do. All right. Oh, Jim. Hi, Jim. Hi, Jim. Lethy, I mostly boil eggs. I boil the eggs. Steve cooks basically everything else. So I'm just going to check the questions one more time. Okay. Oh, thank you. I loved hysterical literature. Speaking of Clayton, hysterical literature. Hello, Philippines. Hi, Steve. Other Steve. Hello, other Steve. One of the artists that I posed for during quarantine. Yeah. So I don't know if this will be archived. I will see what I can do, but I don't usually handle Instagram, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to archive it. We'll find out. Yes, hello, all the countries. Hello, all the countries. I'm not even going to try to name them because some of them are flags, and I don't want to embarrass myself with my horrible flag nation matching skills. Yeah, so I'm gonna go. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and maybe we'll do another one of these soon.